All right, so one of the questions I get all the time, and I've heard this question for all the years of doing active melody, is how do I improve my timing? And I always hate getting that question because there's so many variables involved. It's not like an easy answer, even an easy video to make. You know, there's a lot of different ways we can look at that. Maybe it's somebody struggling with their speed, or maybe it's just an accuracy thing, or strum pattern thing, or something like that. So anyway, there's a lot of different ways to look at it. So what I did was I went back in my own mind to some of the things that I remember struggling with. And I would watch rhythm guitar players. I remember seeing rhythm players, and they just made it look so effortless. They would be doing stuff like this, and it just looked like they were, you know, having a conversation while they were doing it, laughing on stage or whatever. And it just looked like nobody was sitting there counting or doing the stuff that I was doing. And I would have to kind of do it that way until I understood the dance that has to happen with your hands and sort of the way you think about it. So I want to talk about all of that stuff, and I'm going to give you some very practical ways to think about strumming. And we're also going to look at what it sounds like to play on the beat versus ahead of the beat. I'm going to give you 2 examples and show you how to do it with the left and the right hand. It's not difficult. There's nothing difficult in this from a technical standpoint. It's just going to be putting the pieces together that will be the part that trips you up. But you'll be able to do this. This isn't anything that's super technical. Trust me on that. So we're going to break all of that down. Actually, in this video, I'm going to go through all the lesson material. I do have some extra materials, though. I have a little composition that has a jam track, and then everything is tabbed out. So if you want the extra pieces to this so that you can practice playing along with a jam track, you can get those things by going to activemelody.com and doing a search for ML128. Okay, so what we're going to do for this week's lesson is we're going to take the jam track from last week's lesson. I'll put that one up on the screen if you want to check it out. Last week's lesson was a Jerry Garcia style lead. And so I wrote a jam track that was kind of Grateful Dead-ish. And I thought this would be perfect jam track to use for this demonstration, because there's the Grateful Dead always has such a cool groove in their rhythm section. It's always so strong. And so anyway, we're going to take that jam track and we're going to be playing over that. There's 3 chords we're going to be looking at for this. It's an A, a G, and a D. And those chords just keep looping and repeating. And here's the first thing I want you to just pay attention to, and that's the way that I'm playing these chords. So I'm playing my A chord here using the E shape from the cage system. That's where we bar on the 5th fret. Now you don't have to play the full bar and play all 6 strings. In fact, I'm only going to be playing it like this. I play 5 strings, or actually the top 4 strings. That's just how I make that chord usually if I'm playing rhythm. Some people wrap their thumb over. There's different ways I see it done. But I'm only mentioning all of this because there's always somebody that says, oh, I can't play bar chords. Well, you can still do this. If you can't play bar chords, just play the piece of the chord that you can play, or find the piece of the chord that you can play. So what I would do if I couldn't play a bar chord, I would do this. I would play strings 4, 3, and 2 out of that chord shape. Because with that, I can play rhythm with that. I can work with that. So you don't have to always play, you know, if you see a bar chord somewhere and you can't do it, or any kind of thing that you can't do, just find the piece that you can do. Never just give up on it and say, oh, I can't do that. Because you don't have, nothing is literal in this, in music. You can just find the piece that you can do, especially if you're playing along with a jam track. It doesn't matter. So anyway, the A chord is using the E shape, the G chord, same thing. And then when we go to the D chord, I'm going to use the A shape. Play strings 5, 4, 3, and 2. Those are going to be our chord voicings that we're going to start off with. Okay, let's listen to the jam track. I want you to hear that, get the cadence of that, and then we're going to start talking about how we can play over that. Okay, so here's what we're going to play every time we play the A chord. We're going to do the same thing every time. We're going to play down, down, and then we're going to do an upstroke, and then a muted strum. So it's down, down, rest, up, mute. Down, down, up, down, down, up. So that's the first thing I want you to do, is just practice being able to do that from a technique standpoint. Down, down, up, mute. Down, down, up, mute. Now, whatever fingering you're using, you can do it like that. You could play it like this without a bar at all. It doesn't really matter how much of the chord you're playing with the left hand. You're just going to have to follow that rhythm pattern though. Okay, so after that A, we're going to go to the G. But when we go to the G, I'm going to play ahead of the beat. I want you to first hear what it sounds like when I play ahead of the beat, and then we'll go back and I'll do it on the beat, and you'll hear the difference. So when we play ahead of the beat, it sounds like this. G, D. Now notice what's happening with the right hand. I'm going up, 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 up. Those are 4 upstrokes. Up, 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 up. And then we're back to that A. Up, up, up. Now that only works if you play ahead of the beat. And the way you play ahead of the beat is you come in on the and of 4. So check this out if I'm counting it out. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1. So it comes under the and. In fact, every one of those ups, and, they're on the and. And so that works doing the upstrokes when you play ahead of the beat. You come in on the and of 4. 1, 2, and 3 and 4 and you come in right there. Now when I play on the beat, listen to this. I'll count that out. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. Notice I'm doing downstrokes that time. Same chords versus here's ahead of the beat. Now the tempo that I'm playing over is staying the same. The only difference is I'm playing ahead of the beat on one example. And when I play ahead of the beat, I'm doing upstrokes on the ands. And when I play on versus when I play on the beat, notice I waited. Wait, then you come in. And when you come in on the beat, you're playing downstrokes. Let me play along with a jam track now, and I'll do all of this so that you can hear what it sounds like in context. Okay, we're going to start off by playing ahead of the beat. So the A chord is going to be the same each time, but when we go to that G, I'm going to start off by playing ahead of the beat. Notice I'll be doing upstrokes with the right hand, so check it out. Here we go. 2, 3, 4. Playing on the and. Here's what it sounds like to play on the beat. Notice I'm doing downstrokes now. A little less push. All right, so now let's take a look at some little embellishments we can add to this rhythm just to make it sound a little more interesting. You can choose to do this or not and choose when to do it. Totally up to you. These are some things you can sort of sprinkle in if you think of it like an ingredient. Sprinkle into your recipe. And so we're going to be playing on the beat. So that's on the beat. But here's what we're going to do. Check this out. So notice when I'm playing this chord, this is another reason I like playing, instead of playing the full bar, I like playing this chord like this because my pinky's free. So I'm only playing strings 4, 3, 2, and 1, right, of that A chord, using the E shape, but my pinky's free, so I can come up here and hit the 7th fret 3rd string, which gives me an A sus4, which resolves to the A, so you can go. So my right hand is pretty much doing the same thing. The only difference is I'm not doing that muted strum. I'm actually strumming the notes when I play with this embellishment. So I'm going down, down, up, down. And then we do the same thing. We go down to our G, down, up, down. So we got down, up, down. And then I'm going to do the same thing for the D, down, up, down. Now, when I play the D, I'm doing it totally different now. This is just another way to think about that D. Instead of playing that, it's still using the A shape, but instead of playing it like this, I'm just going to use one finger and play that little triad that's there on the 7th fret, strings 4, 3, and 2. And then I'm going to do this. So I'm going to do this little embellishment, and you can get a lot of mileage off of this. So I'm going to keep that bar there. My middle finger goes down on the 8th fret 2nd string, ring finger on the 9th fret 3rd string. And so I like this. I got this from Keith Richards. You hear this kind of little thing, or he'll do that as well. That's where my ring finger went down to the 4th string. And I think of this as kind of a Rolling Stones embellishment. But let's back it up from this A. Isn't that cool? Now notice it's on the beat though. So it's, I'm not jumping ahead of the beat. Now I could do that. That would, I don't want to introduce that just yet. I want you to just get these embellishments and look at what you can do with your pinky being free. You can also come up here, this is a little sidebar, but I could come up here to the 2nd string and play that. And that gives me the 6th interval of my chord, so it's like an A6 sound. So those are some things that you can do with your pinky being free there. We have... So then with the jam track, I came up here and played a different voicing and played. And I'm using the same strum pattern with the right hand. That doesn't change. That's one of the nice things about it. Once you get the right hand down, you can apply it to different applications. I'm playing, I'm playing the same chords, but in a different voicing. So now I'm up here on strings 1, 2, and 3. And I'm using that D triad, so think of your D chord in first position, the way that you would play that. If you were to slide it all the way up here, that's your A note, the tip of the triangle, therefore that's an A triad. It's just another voicing for an A chord. So we can take that, move that down 2 frets, that's a G, just like this was, going down 2 frets. And then for the D, I just came here and played the top part of that A shape. So I went from here to here, and then here. Now when I'm moving across these chord voicings like this, I keep my ring finger anchored. So watch the ring finger. It stays down, it stays down, it stays down here and moves down 1. The other fingers fall into place. That just makes it so much easier for me to hit this chord. And that's the only way I can do it, is by keeping that ring finger anchored. So we can play ahead of the beat like we did before. Up, 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 up. And we can play on the beat with embellishments. Check this out. Doing the same thing we did before. There's my A sus4. I'm just playing it up here now. So I've got my pinky free to hit the 10th fret 1st string. Then move that down 2 frets. Do the same thing over the G. And then for the D, my pinky can hit the 7th fret 1st string for that embellishment. So if you take all of these pieces now and you put them together, you've got embellishments, you've got playing ahead of the beat, you've got playing on the beat, you can really start to advance your rhythm playing, and hopefully you can start to feel it. That's where you want to get to. So you're not counting necessarily, but you're feeling it. And I guess in the beginning, you do have to count it. I remember having to count it a little bit. But at some point, that kind of goes away and you can just sort of feel this stuff. And you can go back and forth between playing ahead of the beat and playing on the beat. There's no written formula. It's not like you have to do one so many times or alternate it. You can do it whenever you feel like it. And that's what I love about that. Playing ahead of the beat, it pushes the rhythm, versus playing on the beat, it sort of pulls the rhythm back and gives it more of a a comfortable, kind of lazy feel. That feels lazier to me than this. And I like to alternate back and forth. Now, when you play along with the jam track, you'll notice there's an A section and a B section. In the B section, you're going to go to 3 different chords. You're going to go from a D to a C to a G. And so when I play that, I use the A shape for the D and the C, and then I use the E shape for the G. It's kind of the reverse. It's like the mirrored reverse of what we did for the first set of chords. But you can take the same principles that you've learned from the other chords and apply them here. That's why I wanted to include this. So you could go. Notice that little embellishment? Just like we did over the A shape. Hopefully a light bulb just went off for somebody. You go, oh yeah, now I get it. And then you go to the E shape. If you want to play ahead of the beat, you got the upstrokes, right? You start to feel it a little bit, and you can be in control as a rhythm guitar player. When there's a band, you can kind of push the rhythm if you want to play ahead of the beat or pull it back by playing right on the beat. I hope this has opened some doors for some of you and at least given you some ideas for how you might improve your timing. Definitely download the jam track and play along with that and just practice that. I've got a slow version of it as well. So if that tempo is too fast, there is a slower version that you can practice playing with. And check out the tab. I've tabbed out everything I've talked about with all the embellishments so that you have those as well. In fact, I'll play those here at the end of this video. So leave a comment. Let me know if you like this, if this has been a breakthrough for you, or if you have any questions. I'd appreciate that too. I always like hearing from you. I read all the comments and it really helps me understand, what's resonating. All right, we'll see you in the next video.